Unleash the power of knowledge and connect with the heartbeat of the African diaspora. Download our African Diaspora News Channel app now on Google Play and Apple App Store. Stay informed with authentic and diverse perspectives, breaking news, and cultural insights. Immerse yourself in a community that celebrates unity, resilience, and progress. Experience the vibrancy of the diaspora at your fingertips. Don't miss out. Empower your perspective today. Search African Diaspora News Channel and join the conversation.
My name is Naledi Mfoloe, and it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you to the latest edition of the African Diaspora News Channel, where we unravel the stories that shape our world and our communities. Now, just last week, right, I brought you the first report on the controversial BELA bill, which is the Bill for the Better Employment Laws Amendment. And as I mentioned last time, this piece of legislation has sparked a heated debate across the country. And in the week since that initial report, there have been some significant developments. Now, a march at the Voortrekker Monument in Pretoria, organized under the banner of #StopBELA, has made waves for a variety of reasons. Now, the march, led by the political leaders from the Democratic Alliance, from the Freedom Front Plus, and the Patriotic Alliance, attracted crowds protesting the BELA Act. Now, this is a piece of legislation that the Afriforum claims will actually undermine Afrikaans schools and culture.
So kom, ek wil gou eers julle ja's hoor. Kan ek 'n ja hoor? Ja! Kan ek dit? Oh, dis pragtig. Ek dink hierdie kan al kwalifiseer as waar dit is nie, as die grootste kant tussen die geskiedenis. Kom ons toets gou weer, ja? Ja! En dan 'n? Dis pragtig. So ons gaan gou toets, ons gaan gou kyk of julle mooi vang hoe dit werk. Vriende, as ek sê, ons is hier vir moedertaalonderrig.
Now, for many, right, this march actually represents a dangerous nostalgia for a time in South Africa's history that brought immense suffering to black people. And it's no surprise that political leaders from the DA, such as John Steenhuisen and Pieter Groenewald of the FF Plus, actually joined forces with Afriforum to lend their support to the protests. I mean, as Afriforum CEO Kali Karel proudly declared, this is the biggest protest from the Afrikaans community since 1994, which was the end of apartheid. Now, Karel argued that the BELA Act, in its current form, actually targets Afrikaans schools and threatens their cultural identity. Let's have a look.
This is the biggest protest from the Afrikaans community since 1994. And there's a reason for that, because people are angry. Because the BELA Act is targeting Afrikaans schools specifically, and therefore it's targeting our children. And it also does not create space for mother tongue education for all. That is why we have to send out a clear message, especially from the Afrikaans community. We do not have traditional areas where our culture can thrive. Schools play a central role in our cultural survival. So this is not just a fight against the Act, it's a fight for cultural survival. But we also believe it should be a fight for all children in this country, because if you look at matric results, children that don't write their matric exam in their mother tongue struggle because their knowledge is not being tested. It becomes a language test. And that is where we need to unite and also say BELA must accommodate a broader base of mother tongue education.
You want to say that?
But I think the question we really need to ask ourselves here is, what is really being celebrated here, and at what cost? Because I can't help but feel deeply unsettled by the symbolism at play. I mean, we know that the DA and the FF Plus and Afriforum claim this protest is about preserving Afrikaans culture and protecting language rights, right? But there's something much more sinister brewing beneath the surface that I honestly can't shake off. I mean, the march, the language used by some of the speakers, and the symbolism that accompanied it all point to a troubling narrative that we cannot ignore. I mean, in the wake of the protest, the EFF leaders have called out the DA for its role in these protests, with many accusing the party of racism, which is a charge that has been levied at DA for many years. Now, let me say this, right? Black South Africans are being disrespected. And not just by the Afriforum, but by political parties like the DA, who continually try to play the victim in a country that is still reeling from the legacy of apartheid. I mean, the DA and its supporters may claim to stand for democracy and equality, but when you align yourself with individuals and groups that romanticize the past, you must ask yourself, who is really being left out of this narrative? Now, the reality is that the DA and its supporters have long seen themselves as custodians of the Western culture, and in many ways, they failed to recognize the power dynamics at play in South Africa. I mean, the idea that all black people are stupid or don't understand the history of colonialism and apartheid is not just condescending, but it's outright offensive. The fact that they believe that their so-called Afrikaans culture should be prioritized over the language, the dignity, and the rights of black people is a gross misunderstanding of what true equality looks like in post-apartheid South Africa. And let's talk about the color orange, which played such a prominent role at this protest, right? The Orange Free State, named after the Dutch royal family, which is the House of Orange, has long been associated with colonial oppression. Now, the Dutch colonialists were responsible for the land theft and the enslavement and the systemic violence inflicted on black South Africans. The very idea that the DA would wear orange as a symbol of pride in Afrikaner heritage, while ignoring the trauma that comes with it, actually shows the deep divides that still exist in this country. I mean, the Orange Free State, right, established under the rule of the Dutch royal family, was a period where black lives were violently oppressed. Families were torn apart. Black South Africans were murdered for their land, and the country was forcibly structured to serve the economic interests of the few. And yet, the DA and its allies thinks it's perfectly acceptable to celebrate this past. For them, wearing orange is simply a matter of pride for Afrikaans culture, but for many of us, it's an ugly reminder of our pain, our loss, and our ongoing fight for justice. Now I know there are those who will try to deny this and say that the BELA Act is merely a legislative issue, but it is so much more than that. This march wasn't just about protecting language rights. It was about defending a version of history that conveniently leaves out the suffering of black South Africans. Now, the DA's involvement in this protest and their connection to groups like Afriforum, which is led by people who glorify apartheid, should raise serious questions about their true intentions. Black lives still matter. And it's time for all South Africans to stop tolerating this kind of rhetoric from the political elite. I strongly believe that if the MK party and the EFF can stop fighting each other and actually look at the forces that continue to divide us and fight them, because these are the forces that want to see the suffering of our people ignored and the forces that romanticize the past while denying the future. Honestly, I believe that this protest was more than just a march. It was a symbol of the deep divisions in our society, and I believe that we must confront them head on. What is your opinion? What do you think about this situation? And while you're at it, please, let's engage in the comment section. And while you're at it, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching. Please, till we meet again, it is goodbye for now.